Hello again, my name is Neil Kelleher. In the previous video, the focus was on a one-legged seated get-up. So we were doing, or showing this exercise, so lifting the bottom leg. Now, a variation of that exercise, which might be more suitable for some people, or which might be more useful for just getting up from the seated position to a standing position, is something like this, using both legs to get up. So this could be called seated get up part 2, or seated get up variation 2, or seated get up using both legs at the same time. Now, one of the things that I wanted to focus on in this video while teaching this is how to do it in such a way that you don't endanger your knees. So being aware of the knees is I would suggest, is one of the things that you can watch out for in this exercise, the seated two-legged get up. Anyway, so let's break it down into steps again. So the first thing is to use the hand. So it's pretty much like yesterday's, using the hand to get up to this position and then lifting the hand and then putting the hand back down and sitting back down again. Now, one of the key points to get to the next step is from here to actually rotate the shin backwards like so. Then when you're going the opposite way, sitting down, so that's important as well. Getting up and sitting down, both of these exercises, when you're being careful with your knees, require awareness. So when you're going back down again, the step is to bring the leg in. And again, initially as you're getting used to it, use the hand so that you can control yourself, so you can stop yourself if you find that your knee or your foot does feel uncomfortable. So once you're used to doing it with the hand a few times, then do it without the hand, or try it without the hand. So from here, then move the leg out. And one of the things you could do, maybe move the leg further back or further forward, then going back down, move the leg in and sit back down. So you can try that a few times and then do it on the other side. So here again, to begin with, use the hand. And remember, if you haven't watched the previous video, one of the points is to point the foot so that when you're doing this action, the shin and foot can roll as one unit and move together with the thigh. If you have the foot bent like this, the bend in the foot can prevent the shin from rolling easily, so the thigh would be moving relative to the shin in a way that puts a lot of stress on the knee. So point the foot, try to make the front of the ankle as flat as possible so that the shin and thigh can move together, reducing any stress on your knee joint. So doing the opposite side, I think this is the opposite side, you can use your hand, push yourself forward. So notice the way my shin and foot roll together. You can lift the hand, and then from there you're going to need a bit of a hip lift, or it might help to lift the hips a little bit. Point the foot back, and if you like, tuck the toes under. And then from there, bring the foot back, hand down, and lower yourself. So without using the hand, try to lean forward. And that's one thing when you're transitioning from using the hand to not using the hand. When you're using the hand, notice how you use the hand or why you use a hand. You're using your hand to push your torso forward. And as you do so, you're pushing yourself off of your hand and you're pushing weight onto your feet. So one of the things you can work at doing when you're transitioning to not using your hand is trying to do that same action so trying to get that same feeling, trying to get your weight forward over to your feet without using your hand to push your torso forward. And the same can be true, one exercise that I used to do a lot was this sort of rolling sit-up, where the idea was to reach your legs forward and then sit up like so. And one of the, I'll call it cheats, but actually one of the ways of what would I call it? substituting or doing the pose. So if your abs aren't strong enough to do this action, or your hip flexors, then the way to, what most people who can't do it find helpful, is to grab onto the thighs. So then they're using the hands to hold onto the thighs. Then when the thighs reach forward, the hands can have something to hold on to so that they can help pull the torso forward. So that's a way of doing this exercise. And then once you get used to this thing, you're actually using the weight of the legs to pull your hands forward and your chest forward. So then it's, once you get that feeling, then you can try and use the abs. Instead of using your hands to pull your chest forward with the weight of the legs, you can use your abs. So it's the same sort of thing. So you sort of, although you're using your hand, no, it should be this way. Although you're using your hand, you're also trying to feel what your body's doing in order to get forward. So you're trying to feel your body, trying to feel what your hand is helping you to do, and then trying to do that without the use of your hand. So the next step is then relatively simple. So once you're used to doing it without using the hand, and even here you could still use the hand if you needed to, if you were still experiencing problems. So weight forward, move the leg out, and that's probably the most important part. Tuck the toes under and then try pressing. So rather than just lifting the knee, try pressing down through the foot in order to lift the knee, and then from there you can stand up. Then the reverse step. See if you can lower the knee gently. Flip the foot in. So again, when you're going back down, if your knee position has changed relative to the foot, be careful. Use your hand initially. So what I like to do if I'm using the hand is lift the knee up, sit back down. So pay attention, lean forward, move the foot back, come up, back down again, and foot in. So relatively simple. So let's just do that on the other side. So what you could do, you could switch legs every side once you're used to it. So turn the foot out, press down with the foot, lift the knee. So let's try that. Let's switch feet, turn the foot in. So now as I turn the feet in, because I'm used to this exercise, I know that this is too far back from my knee, so automatically bring the knee forward and then sit down. So coming up, turn the foot back, switching legs, other foot back. So my tendency is to reach the foot quite far back, then bring the knee down. Then for the next step, I turn the foot in. That feels wrong, so I'll bring my foot forward and then I'll sit down. So that's one of the things you can be aware of, and you can switch legs at the top or the bottom, but that's one of the things that you can be aware of if you are, say, starting from standing, reaching the foot back, lowering the knee down. Reposition the knees before you lower your hips. But for that reason, it might be better just to stay focused on one side. Practice it on one side till you get used to the feel, you get used to feeling where your knee is relative to your foot. But also in the process of standing up and standing down, you get used to that feeling. So you know what it should feel like, and you can then, if you switch feet each time, you can then automatically adjust based on the feeling of your body. Next, I should quickly apologize for the light. One of the problems using natural light, you're dependent on clouds not appearing. But anyway, so a couple of variations. So one of the ways that I work towards that exercise, and this could be useful as well for the previous video, the seated one-legged get up, is simply like this. And the idea of this exercise is actually to strengthen both the leg and the arm, to get used to using a leg and an arm to bear body weight. So with the hand on the floor, tilted out comfortably. And so it's, if your left foot on top, the right hand is on the bottom, it's simple. Lift the hip. Then from there, lift the leg, lower down, relax. You could switch each time. Lift the hip, lift the leg, lower the leg, lower the hip. And when you're doing this, you could synchronize this with the breath. Inhale, exhale, 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 inhale, and exhale. Now what about breathing for the two-legged get up, seated get up? Often I don't really focus on breathing in, or particularly in the one-legged get up, because particularly if the focus is on the knees, I would rather my students focus on feeling their knees, on doing the actions slowly and smoothly while focused on that rather than the breath, rather than trying to maintain the same pace as your breath. But in this exercise there's little or no danger, particularly at the beginning, so the focus can just be on sequencing. And why a 4-step breath? To emphasize the 4 different steps. Lifting the hips is a different step from lifting the bottom leg. Likewise, putting the bottom leg, it's not just put the bottom leg down and sit down together, it's to bring more awareness to these separate acts of that whole set of actions. Now, going back to the two-legged get up or even the single leg seated get up, once you're comfortable with feeling the knees, once you can do that, it's almost automatic, the knee awareness and the actions to keep your knees safe, whether it's stabilizing the calf, whatever. Once you're comfortable with all those actions, then if you're repeating either the actions or any of these exercises, then synchronize it with the breath, or just keep a calm and steady breath. So for example, going back to the previous exercise, breathing, inhaling, so bracing, inhaling, just keep breathing. So just keep your breath calm and smooth. Now, another exercise, similar, it's like this. So now the bottom leg is straight. Lift the hips. If you like, you could try and make the knees strong, then lift the leg, lower the leg, relax. Lift the hips, lift the leg, lower the leg, relax. One thing you might want to pay attention if you have shoulder problems or if you want to work on shoulder and neck awareness, prior to lifting the hips, use your shoulder to press your chest up. So that would actually make it a 6-part exercise. Shoulder, hip, leg, leg, hip, shoulder. So how might I do that? If I really wanted to focus awareness, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Something like that. Or inhale, so a 2-part inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, lower, relax the shoulder. So 2-part inhale, part 1, inhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, 2-part exhale. So for this part, maybe simultaneous relaxation of the shoulder and lowering the hip. Now for these exercises where I'm doing 4 breathing parts, I don't really pay attention to whether the exhale naturally opens the chest or whatever. It's just a sequencing of the breath with movement. And here the idea is to free the breath from the specific movement. So if you're lifting the hips, learn how to lift the hips, say with an inhale or an exhale. It doesn't really matter. It's not like sun salutations where you're always lifting the chest when you lift your arms up. Could you lift your arms with an exhale? Why might you want to do that? So that you can combine different breathing actions with different body actions, so that you can free movement from breath whenever you need to. That isn't to say that you should always do that, but it might be a useful exercise, learning to decouple movement from breath. And one of the benefits of that might be that when you are actually coupling natural movements of the breath with the arm, they might come easier. But anyway, that's 3 exercises for you to play with. So if I was sequencing them, maybe you've already done tabletop from the previous exercise, so this one might be first. So here you could add a shoulder action as well. Inhale, and then relax. Other side. Then next variation, hips, leg. And again, straight, make the knee strong in this action when you're lifting it. And then from here back to here. Standing up, lowering down. Like so. And why even bother with that exercise? One of the reasons for it is sometimes I get older people who have trouble getting up from a seated position to a standing position. If you're doing Ashtanga yoga, then the usual way to stand up is to do a vinyasa. Inhale, chest forward, jump your legs forward, stand up. And it's not something that you're going to use every day. And so one of the reasons for this exercise is to have a simple way of practicing getting up from the seated position to the standing position in a way that could be useful on a daily basis. So there you have it, the 2-legged seated get up variation. Thank you very much for watching. If you like this video, please share it, like it, and even subscribe. Yes, please subscribe to my channel. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Namaste.